Hi everybody, this is Mr. Short. Today we're going to be talking about skin cancer, and this is the third of three different types of pathologies that we're going to be talking about with respect to skin. The first that we learned about is infection, the second that we learned about is allergy, and the third that we're learning about right now is cancer. Before we get to talking about some basics of cancer, I wanted to give you a reminder of the structure of skin. Remember that the skin comes in three layers from superficial to deep. Those are the epidermis, which is most superficial, the dermis, which is this thick layer right here, it's rich in blood supply, and then the hypodermis, which is down at the most bottom portion of the skin. So again, from superficial to deep, it goes epidermis, dermis, hypodermis. Notably, within the epidermis, we have several sublayers. The outside sublayer is called the stratum corneum. It's the hard outermost layer of the epidermis, and it has a protein called keratin in it. Keratin is the same thing that makes up your fingernails and your hair. So that is the most superficial layer of your epidermis. Deeper, at the deepest layer of the epidermis, we have stratum basale or stratum basale. You can pronounce it either way. The way that I remember that it's the deepest layer of the epidermis is by saying basement. It is the basement layer or the basement stratum of the epidermis. In this basement layer, this basal layer right here, we've got stem cells that produce new epidermal cells, and in particular, we have melanocyte cells. Remember, melanocytes, they produce a protein called melanin, and it's a pigment. It protects us from ultraviolet light, and it gives our skin color. Keep in mind that it's in this stratum basale layer that we have the melanocytes. Okay, let's learn a little bit about cancer now. Okay, so again, this is the third of three types of homeostatic imbalances of the skin. Cancer involves abnormal division of cells, and those cells in particular have undergone some mutation in the DNA. So remember, the DNA includes the genes. It's got the G's, C's, A's, and T's. So cancer is just abnormal division of cells that have mutated. A couple of terms that we need to know. First is the term tumor. The word tumor is something that we always hear associated with cancer, and a tumor is simply a mass of mutated cells. Cancer can be classified two ways. First of all, note that cancer can be either classified as benign. A benign cancer means that the tumor is not likely to spread to a distant site. So it's going to stay localized in that one region. So cancers can be either classified as benign or as malignant. And if you look at the prefix on the word malignant, it's mal, and mal means bad. Malignant tumors are tumors that will invade other body areas. In fact, they'll spread not only from one body area to a nearby body area, but also they can break off and travel to distant body areas as well. So again, tumors and cancer can be classified as either benign or malignant. Okay, finally, in the process of malignant tumors spreading from one site to another, the process called metastasis can occur. The word metastasis means the spread of cancer cells from one part of the body to another part of the body. Let's take a look at a picture that shows the loss of normal growth control over cells. So if you take a look up top, you can see that we started with one parent cell right here that was not mutated. That one single parent cell divided into two daughter cells. One of those daughter cells divided into this daughter cell, as well as this other daughter cell. But this daughter cell had some problems with it. It had some cell damage that couldn't be repaired. So what the cell chose to do was, the cell chose to commit what's called cell suicide, which is also called apoptosis. Apoptosis means programmed cell death. So the cell intentionally kills itself so that it doesn't lead to a big mass of mutated cells, a tumor like we see right down here. Apoptosis or cell suicide is a perfectly normal part of cell growth and division. Okay? If a cell loses its growth controls, we hope that that cell will commit apoptosis or self-destruction so that it doesn't lead to an abnormal tumor that's shown right down here. However, in some cases, when a certain critical number of mutations has occurred, you can see 1 mutation, 2 mutations, 3 mutations, 4 mutations. This cell right here can become an uncontrolled mass or a tumor, as shown there. So now let's talk about 3 particular types of skin cancers. So first of all, skin cancer is the most common form of cancer in humans, and you might expect it's because our skin is exposed to the external environment, and there are lots of different things that can cause mutations inside our DNA, including ultraviolet light. Okay, again, the most important risk factor is exposure to ultraviolet radiation. Comes in the form of sunlight and from tanning beds. Okay, the most common forms of skin cancer include basal cell carcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, and malignant carcinoma. We'll talk about each one of those individually. So basal cell carcinoma is the most common type of skin cancer, and it occurs in those sun-exposed areas in cells that are in the stratum basale. So remember, I said that basale means basement membrane or basement layer of the epidermis. So it appears like a pearly or waxy bump or a flat, flesh-colored, brown scar-like region. And the treatment can include cryosurgery. Cryo means freezing, so you can freeze it off and then cut it off, or there can be just surgical removal. 95% of the cases are easily cured, but it might come back. And this is what it looks like, basal cell carcinoma. Okay, so you can see in this appearance description right here that it appears like kind of a waxy bump, and it's flesh-colored, and it might have some brown that's in it. You can see a little bit of color right here and a little bit of color right there. The next type that we'll talk about is called squamous cell carcinoma. This is 5 times less common than basal cell carcinoma, but it's more likely to spread to nearby organs. So whereas we would probably say that the previous type, basal cell carcinoma, is likely to be benign, squamous cell carcinoma is more likely to be malignant than is basal cell carcinoma. It also occurs in those sun-exposed areas of our body. And it's a firm red nodule, or it could be a flat lesion with a scaly, crusty surface. And again, cryosurgery could be a treatment, surgical removal, or medication. And this is what it looks like right over here. The last type is malignant melanoma. Remember that the prefix mal means bad. Okay, this is likely to spread or metastasize to different parts of the body. It's the most dangerous skin cancer because it can metastasize or spread and lead to death, but it accounts for only 5% of skin cancers. So whereas it's not very common in the world of skin cancers, if a person gets malignant melanoma, it is the most dangerous type of skin cancer. It can occur anywhere on your body, not just on the sun-exposed areas. And it's a large brown spot with darker speckles, or it could be a mole that changes in size or color and it might bleed. It could be surgically removed, could have to undergo radiation and maybe also chemotherapy. And again, you can see how dark this is. Okay? Remember, melanocytes, which are the mutated cells in a melanoma, they produce the pigment melanin. And you can see that these mutated melanocytes here are producing a lot of that protein melanin. All right, some danger signs here for malignant melanoma. A stands for asymmetry. Okay, the 2 sides of the pigmented mole don't match one another. B stands for border irregularity. Okay, the borders of the mole are not smooth. C stands for color. There could be differences in the color or the density of the pigmentation within the mole, within the melanoma. D stands for diameter. So the spot is likely to grow larger than 6 millimeters in diameter. So that's the ABCD of malignant melanoma danger signs. Okay, this is something that you can do to monitor your own moles right here, is to ask yourself how the symmetry, border regularity, color, and diameter are. All right, E is also evolution, and by evolution what we mean is one or more of the ABCDs is evolving, which simply means to change. So it could be that it used to have a consistent color, and now over time it's got an inconsistent color density to it. Or it could be that it used to have a smaller diameter, but it's grown rapidly to have a bigger diameter. Or maybe it used to be symmetric, but now it's asymmetric. So those are the A, B, C, Ds, and Es of malignant melanoma danger signs. All right, thank you guys. That's it on skin cancer. Let us know if you have any questions.